practice finding a percent of a number. Here we go.
As I'm sure you already know, percent simply means out of 100. Let's change them all to fractions first. And to change a percent to a fraction, you simply take the number that is written before the percent sign and put that over 100. So if you're asked to find 1% of a number, really you're being asked to find 1/100th of that number. And in order to find 1/100th of any number, you have to divide that number by 100. 10%, or 10 over 100, we can simplify that to just 1/10. So when you're asked to find 10% of a number, you're asked to find 1/10 of that number, which really just means I have to divide that number by 10. When I'm asked to find 25% of a number, that can simplify to 1/4. So this really just means find 1/4 of the number. And to find 1/4 of anything, I have to divide it by 4. If you're asked to find 50% of a number, that really just simplifies to 1/2. And to find 1/2 of something, you simply divide it by 2. So these are nice benchmark these are nice benchmark percents because they're very easy to work with. I can quite easily find 1%, 10%, 25%, and 50% of almost any number. And then I can use these as building blocks to build any percent. Using 1%, I can find 2% by doubling it. Using 10%, I can find 5% by halving it, or 20% by doubling it. 25% can give me 75% if I triple it. And 50%, I can combine that with, say, 10% to find 60% of a number. So all of these are going to be our building blocks to find any percent of any number. Let's start by finding 1% of 240. 1% means 1/100th. And to find 1/100th of something, we have to divide it by 100. So we're thinking in our head, 240 divided by 100 equals 2 4/10. Let's find 10%. 10% means 1/10. And to find 1/10 of something, I have to divide it by 10. So 240 divided by 10 equals 24. 25% of 240. 25% simply means 1/4. To find 1/4 of something, I have to divide it by 4. So 240 divided by 4 equals 60. 50% of 240. 50% simply means 1/2. And to find 1/2 of anything, I have to divide it by 2. 240 divided by 2 is 120. So these are what we're calling our benchmark percents. They're easy to find, and we can use them to build any other percent that we're trying to find. Let's use our benchmarks to find some more percents. Let's find 15% of 240. How could I build 15% out of what I already have? Well, I could build it out of 10% and 5%. Let's do that. 10% of 240, I know, is 24. Now, how could I get 5%? I could get 5% by taking half of 10%. Half of 24 is 12. So here is my 10% plus my 5% of 240. Put them together and I get 36. So 36 is 15% of 240. Let's make 26%. I could make 26 by combining 25% and 1%. 25% is 60, and 2.4 is the 1% of 240. Put those together, and it's 62 4/10. That is 26% of 240. Let's try a decimal percent. Now this is only for people who are doing level C. So I could build 1.5% by taking 1% and then taking half of 1% and putting them together. So I know 1% is 2 4/10. Now to take a half a percent, I need half of this value. So half of 2 4/10 is 1 2/10. So I put these two pieces together and I'll get 3 6/10. You might have also noticed that 1 5/10% looks pretty similar to 15%. That's because 1 5/10 is 10 times smaller than 15. So it would make sense that the value is 10 times smaller. Let's try making something more than 100%. Let's do 150%. So 100%, that's the easiest number to find because it just means all. 100% of 240 is 240. Now let's find 50%, which is just half. And now I can add those together. 360.
Okay, now it's your turn.
Pause the video, try these questions, and then come back and check your answers. To find 5% of 360, I'm going to use 10% and then find half of that. I know that 10% of 360 would be 36. So half of 36 is 18. 18 is 5% of 360. To find 31%, I'm going to build that using a 10% and a 1%. So again, 10% of 360 was 36. So I'm going to need 3 copies of that. And then I'm going to have to add 1% onto that. 1% of 360 would be 3 6/10. So 36 times 3, do some mental math here. 3 times 30 is 90. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 plus 90 is 108. So I have 108 plus 3.6, 3 6/10, which is going to give me a total of 111 6/10. To find 80% of 360, I've got a few options. I could do 50% plus 10 10 10, or I could just find 10% and then multiply that by 8. Either way, you're building 80%, so you can choose what works for you. I will go with 50% and then I'll do 30% on top of that. So 50% of 360 is going to be 180 because it's just half. And now I'll need 30%. So 10% is 36. So 36 times 3, I just figure above that was 108. So I've got my 50% and my 30%, and altogether they'll work out to 288. 6.5%. I can build 6.5 with a 5%, a 1%, and a 0.5%. So 5%, I did that earlier by taking 10% and then dividing that by 2. So I know my 5% is 18. Now I'll need 1%. 1% of 360 is 3 6/10. Now to find my 0.5%, I'll have to take half of 1%. Half of my 3 6/10 is going to be 1 8/10. Just a little reminder, I found 5% first, then I found 1%, and I used that to find a 0.5%. And these are my building blocks to make 6.5% or 6.5%. Put these all together, so I've got 18 plus 4, use the 22 plus 1 4/10, so 23 4/10. 250%. I will build 250% by taking 100 and 100 and then 50. So 100% of 360 is 360. So I'm going to go ahead and double that to find my 200%, which is 720. And then I'll take 50% of 360, which is 180, and I'll put those two pieces together. 900.